Okay. Hi everyone, this is SmithyQ from SmithyQ.com. I'm here with another video analysis. And this is going to focus on the attack. And more specifically, when do you sacrifice materials for the attack? When is it okay to give up a pawn? And this game is, it's the exemplar. It's going to show exactly the type of position that you do it. Because I sacrifice a pawn, and I get a dominating position, so much so that even though I don't play the best optimal moves at points, my advantage is still very much there, and my play is still much easier than my opponent's. Let's take a look. So the opening is actually the open Sicilian, and it's the Najdorf. And this is a classic. Many lines get into this classic idea of pieces versus pawns. White has spent his first 6 moves developing 3 pieces, and it's very easy to develop the bishop, the queen. We can castle very, very quickly. Whereas with black, he's developed 1 piece. That's great. His other knight can develop somewhere. That's good. The bishop, it can develop, but usually it doesn't in the Najdorf. Usually it stays here or goes there. And this bishop isn't very well developed at all. It's going to take at least 2 tempi to move it somewhere. It's not sure where it's going to go. Well, usually it goes to e7. It could go to g6, the so-called Najdorf, but that's considered very risky. Or not as solid as the e7 line. And we can see after b5, bishop b3, bishop b7, there's a choice in this position. There's some tension. One idea is, okay, so first off, we can see the problem, is this pawn is attacked twice, it's only defended once. What do? It's not easy to defend it with another piece. We don't really want to play queen e2. For the simple reason that after b4, we're going to lose, the knight will have to move, and then the pawn is only defended by 1 piece again. Get rid of the lines, there we go. And so, something like f3 might be possible. And it's a move, but it's a pawn move. White's advantage is that he has lots of pieces. And he can bring his other pieces in very, very quickly. It's going to take black longer. And so, this is possible, but it's not, it's changing the nature of the position slightly. What will generally happen is it becomes an English attack, where we're going to play bishop e3, queen d2, castle, we get some g4 action, and we attack on the king side like this. And that's possible. That's a perfectly acceptable way of playing. It's not clear if this is the most optimal spot for it. Just because black wants to attack on the queen side, and his attack is a bit faster than a normal English attack lines. He can attack both the bishop and the knight with his roaming pawns. And it's just a fine position for black. There's another possibility, and that's to simply ignore it. It's the castle. Because if black wants to win the pawn, and that's exactly what he does, take, 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 he has to spend time taking the pawn, right? That's what you do. It takes tempi to do it. And then after rook e1, notice now, and then he has to move his bishop somewhere, he has 1 piece developed. A moment ago, he had 2 to my 3, and then I castled. Now, he has 1 to my 3. So yes, he's won a pawn, but he's losing time. Lots of time. And look at these open lines staring right at his king. All these lines. Again, look how easy it is to bring my other pieces into the game, anywhere. Maybe the queen comes over. The rook's going to slide over. Very easy. And so now it's white's activity against black's. I'm not even sure what black has in exchange. In fact, black has nothing. Black is lost in this position. No, I didn't calculate that. It just feels right. All my pieces are coming in. He has 1 piece developed. That's great. I'm going to attack him. I ended up playing bishop g5, putting lots of pressure on this e7 square, so that way he can't play e6. well, right, he loses the queen. I'm trying to get rid of that. There we go. And then after h6, my idea was queen h5. And then, again, I have almost my entire army in. I just got to play rook d1, and I'm fully developed. He can't take this because he loses the queen. He's actually threatened with devastation on f7. Again, this pawn is pinned. Everything. There's so much wrong with black in this position. But it turns out there's an even better way of playing. And so this is still good for an advantage. At this position, it's a pawn and a half better for white, says the computer. But even better would have been the immediate knight f5, with the simple threat of taking on d6. So, for instance, if he were to, not do anything, knight takes d6. The pawn is pinned. You don't want to try and run in with the king. When that's discovered, that's just you can resign. But then taking the pawn is still pinned. So that's not very good. There's also a lot of pressure on e7. If he plays something like e6, the computer shows the following line. With queen g4, we're now threatening that. And if g6, bishop g5, and look how the squares are just absolutely, the dark squares, that is, are so incredibly weak. Everything is weak. All of white is attacking. Then after here, the computer says it's +7 for white. White is just crashing in. White has too many threats. So even though white is down a piece and a pawn, he's completely winning. And again, this makes intuitive sense because we're attacking with our entire army. And black has nothing to defend. Nothing at all. It's not even easy thinking of a good move here. In fact, the computer says the best move is bishop f3, trying to distract white, getting his queen back here. Because if he does something else, like knight d7, well, after bishop takes e6, it's all over. So that would have been optimal play. But we can see that even suboptimal play is still much better for white. He ended up playing knight c6. And something I ended up exchanging, and I exchanged right away. This is similar to back here, is where I castled, and I have 3 pieces developed, he has 2. But now I have 3 pieces developed, and he has 1. And so by winning the pawn, he's lost time, right? He only has 1 piece into the game. It's the same thing here. When he brought the knight out, he has 2 pieces developed to my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After the exchange, he has 1 piece developed to my 4. And the 1-to-4 ratio was better for me than the 2-to-5 ratio. He has fewer pieces to attack, whereas, to try to repel my attack. Whereas I keep coming in, and I'm able to find cute move after cute move. I really like playing this move, bishop f6. Again, the pawn is pinned, forcing the rook to move somewhere. Okay, I don't know why that arrow is there. But now he can't castle on the king side. And this rook is pretty pathetic over here. Okay, sure, it's protecting against f7, but otherwise the rook is completely out of the game. Whereas after rook a d1, my entire army is here. It's not easy finding a move for black. And it's not so much it's not easy finding a move, it's finding a series of moves. Okay, what do you do next? I mean, is your only hope trying to sit there, trade all the pieces, and maybe win in the endgame? Like, even so, there are so many endgames where up a pawn doesn't even guarantee a victory. Just about every rook endgame, actually. Right? And so black is doomed himself to all this suffering, groveling, hoping the attack doesn't break through, all for the sake of a pawn. And conversely, white has all this play. So many chances, even if you don't play correctly, to break through and win instantly. It's so much easier to play for white. And so do you give up the pawn? I think you give up the pawn every day of the week. He ended up playing queen c7, and his idea is to castle at queenside. I guessed that, and so I played a4, and then when he castled things got very, very poor for him. A better move, instead of castling, would be to play king d8. This is just because if we try to exchange the pawn here, his rook is active. And I don't get immediate access. Like if I throw my rook over here, right, we exchange. This actually doesn't work because he can take my knight and, my bishop, and that's not very good. But the computer says there's still a drop by preferential check in here. But you know what? A drop by preferential check is pretty good for black, considering he was completely losing. A better move, instead of playing a4 with the same idea, we would play c4. And the idea is exactly the same. If black lets us, we're going to exchange pawns, and now we have the c file. We have more open lines. And that's what we want, right? We're attacking, open the lines. During the game, I thought about c4 for a few seconds, but I thought he'd play b4, and now my bishop just staring at the pawn, and it's not very good. But the thing is, after c5, if perhaps d takes c5, the computer says bishop e5, queen b7, and then bishop d6, and +2 advantage for white. Absolutely crushing. Again, look, every piece coming in, completely paralyzing black. Yes, you're down a couple pawns, but black can't resist anymore. So this would have been another possibility, because that stops him from trying to play king d8. As it were, castling makes some sense, but now his rook is on the wrong side of him. He'd much rather have the rook over here to protect himself. And then after take, he ended up taking this bishop. I took that bishop. He plays bishop g7. And again, just look at this position. Let's do one more move. Queen a5. My queen can go anywhere and attack anything. I'm going to take this. It's very hard for him to defend this. In fact, it's impossible. And look at his bishop's over here doing absolutely nothing. His rook is over here doing even less than that, if that's possible. This rook is offering no protection, and so the queen is trying to protect against everything. And it doesn't work. He ended up playing queen b6. My rook is able to slide in. He tries to attack it. Doesn't matter. He moves away, and now it's just mate in 2. And that's game. So again, many of my moves weren't the computer's top choice. But even though I was down material, I consistently made good moves. I consistently had an advantage the entire time. And even if I didn't have the advantage, this position is so much easier for white to play. So much easier. It's very difficult to play as black. And so that comes all the way back to here. Do you play f3, or do you castle? And really, if you're to play f3, which is a fine move, right? It's not losing, right? It's a choice. You're choosing to keep material, but it gives black the easier game. That is, black is going to do his standard stuff. Black knows exactly what he wants to do here. He's going to move his knight probably to here. He's going to play e6. Whoops. He's probably going to play e6, move the knight to one of these squares, play bishop e7, he's going to castle, queen c... Whoops. Arrows are tough. Do you know how hard it is to draw arrows? Queen c7, rook. He's going to advance these pawns. Again, black knows exactly what he wants to do. Now, white also has his plan, right? He's going to play f3, queen d2, castle, get some g4 action in. And we'll see what happens in 20 moves. That's fine. Again, that's a way of playing. But by castling and reaching a position like this, especially when he moves all the way back, black doesn't have the obvious plan. It's very difficult playing for black. And again, even suboptimal moves for white are going to win. Or sorry, maybe not win, but keep you going, right? Whereas, in the mainline English attack, you make suboptimal moves, you could lose instantly. Whereas here, actually, if black makes a couple of inaccuracies, he's completely done. And so, when do you sacrifice material? This, for me, it was the lesson that I learned. When it gives you that easy play. If you can just move your pieces any way you want, going forward, like this game, where, there's almost no wrong moves. And how do you say no to that for a pawn? And so that's that. Now again, it's easy to say this after the fact. It's easy to say that, you know, when you're watching someone else's games. It's another thing to put into practice. And it took me a very long time to get comfortable sacrificing pawns like this. But if you do it, then, well, you have the chance of playing games like this. And if you don't do it, you'll never get the chance. And you know what? Even if your sacrifice is wrong, even if, you know, you lose the pawn for absolutely nothing, at least you know. So next time when you get into a position, you'll have that experience to rely back on. And when it works really darn well. So that's that. Again, this analysis and more detail is actually on my blog at SmithyQ.com, so make sure you check that out. Otherwise, comments, feedback, you know, criticism, all that, love to hear it. Let me know what you want to see. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.